Alec Murdaugh had to take the stand and admit that he was lying for numerous reasons, but the way that he did it is the definition of coming in hot, and we're going to talk about it in this video. Hello Sofa Squad and welcome back to the sofa. That's the sofa behind me with our trusty sidekick, Mr. Roscoe P. Coltrane, holding it down back there. I hope everybody's doing well. Now, as you heard in the thing you saw, the thumbnail, we're going to be talking about Alec Murdaugh taking the stand and all the stuff that he talked about. Now, the way that we're going to do this is this. We are going to put some clips up and use those as a discussion point and some commentary and stuff like that. Now, literally, there were so many different things during his testimony that I wanted to talk about. So I'm going to try and just make a couple of different videos about it and put one out, maybe one or two of them. So what we'll focus on specifically for this video is his time on the stand while being questioned by his defense team and him just initially coming clean about these lies and whatnot, as well as some peculiar habits we saw on the old defense stand. Now, before we jump into it, I have teamed up with somebody new for the sofa to help keep the doors open and the cushions fluffed, so take a couple of minutes, check them out, and help out the Sofa Squad. Recently, I teamed up with Geology. They're a 16-time award-winning skin, hair, and body care company. They've been recognized in Men's Health, GQ, Spy, Esquire, and Ask Men grooming awards. I fell in love with their products, and I want to tell you about them. Geology creates simple and effective skincare and hair care routines customized just for you with products that are proven to work. Their products are built around just a handful of powerful, proven ingredients that have been trusted by dermatologists for decades. The skincare helps you fight acne, reduce oiliness, prevent wrinkles, combat dark or puffy under eyes, have smoother, hydrated skin, and targets signs of aging. All of these things are things that my skin needs to address. So the way it all works is you take a 30-second diagnostic quiz. It's just a few clicks. You tell them about your skin, your goals, and their team of dermatologists design a personalized routine just for you that's shipped directly to your door. It's that simple. I'm going to walk you through my morning and nighttime routine. First, I rinse and wash my face with the Everyday Face Wash. Y'all, this felt so amazing. Now, one thing that Geology says is a little goes a long way, and they are not lying. Just a little dab goes so far, and I love that about this product. Now, when I use this on my face, I can feel it. It's working. It feels clean. It feels crisp. And most importantly, my face feels clean and ready for the day. Next, I use the Tone Control Morning Cream. And again, look at the little amount that I have to use for complete coverage. One thing I like about their creams and moisturizers is they don't feel heavy. They don't feel like they've weighted my face down. They feel light, but yet they feel like they're working. My nighttime routine, I start off with the Everyday Face Wash again, and it makes my face feel like it's ready for nice, clean sheets. After that, I start with the eye cream, and again, look at that little amount that I have to use for both eyes. I pat that in. That's one issue I have with the dark circles. And then I finish off with the night cream. And again, it's light, it covers my face, it doesn't feel heavy, and I'm able to sleep well with that. I love these products. I love how they make my face feel, and I love the fact that it doesn't take a lot of them to go a long way. Right now, for a limited time, they are hooking you up with an absolutely insane offer. Use my code SOFA70 or scan the QR code on the screen. They will give you an exclusive 70% off of their award-winning skincare trial set. On top of that, they are giving you an exclusive bonus offer on one of their brand new skin, hair, and body products of your choice when you add it to your trial. This is one of the best offers you're going to see, so get it before it's gone. All right, so be sure to check them out. Everything's down in the description below. Let's go ahead and watch that first clip.
Ever.
Well, okay, you had to pick me up off of the floor because I tumbled off the sofa with that opening. Several things starting off here. First of all, obviously, dramatic, theatrics, the whole nine yards. Now, obviously, he's being questioned by his defense team, and so, they're going through this and whatnot. Here's the thing, a couple of things I want you to pay attention to. as we watch some of these clips and whatnot. Number one, just some of his physical behaviors. Look at how he's kind of sitting there hunched. Look at how he has also made sure to turn to the jury. Now, we all know that people are coached to do this, to build that relationship with them and whatnot. And again, I mean, he is an attorney, right? Or was an attorney. So he knows this, right? He's apparently very good at doing this and, selling his personality to people so he can steal and, do whatever he had to do. So just pay attention to those kind of things and these behaviors. Now, in this, right away, I'm just like, whoa, okay, so this is where we're going. Immediately jumping into this. Deny, I did not do this. I am getting upset at this, that type thing, and that whole tactic of, calling, by the attorney by his last name. I did not ever do this. Never. So, yeah. Keep that in mind as we watch the next couple of clips.
Mr. Murdoch, is that you? On the kennel video at 8:44 p.m. on June 7th, the night Maggie and Paul were murdered.
It is.
Were you in fact at the kennels at 8:44 p.m. on the night Maggie and Paul were murdered?
I was.
Ooh, okay, so after you picked me up off the floor from falling off the sofa from the first thing and put me on there, I fell right back off. When they went over this, I was like, oh my God, but this is the point of this video. He had to admit to this, right? You cannot deny that is his voice on there. There's no getting around it. And so one thing that will become very prevalent in this testimony when he's up there with the prosecutors and as well as his attorneys is he's going to have to admit to some things. And again, these are the type things where his back's against the wall. If you don't admit to them, it makes you look like more of a liar. So better to admit to being a liar in some scenarios, like ripping people off, or yeah, I lied about the kennels and this is why, than to double down and lie and say that wasn't me on the video and on the Paul's video. I didn't rip those people off. That type thing. It's like you can't deny this at this point, right? So very bold move. I mean, the defense was like, let's just go ahead and just take ownership of this. We're going to put you up there and we're just going to knock it out because at this point in time we can't afford not to.
Did you lie to SLED Agent Owen and Deputy Laura Rutland on the night of June 7th and told them that you stayed at the house after dinner?
I did lie to them.
Did you lie to Agent Owen and Agent Croft on the follow-up interview on June 10th that the last time you saw Maggie and Paul was at dinner?
I did lie to them.
And in the interview of August 11th, did you tell Agent Owen and Agent Croft, did you lie to them by telling them that you were not down at the kennels on that night?
Yes.
Now again, notice how he's saying, I did lie to them. And notice how he looks right at the jury. Yes. He's, again, what I call taking ownership and just, owning this. I lied. Yes, I lied. Let's look at the jury. Almost like reestablishing trust, right? Because it's almost like I'm going to admit to these things now to try and gain something better out of this. Because at the end of the day, okay, if he can get out of these charges that he is on trial for right now and just go to whatever kind of place he would go to for the charges of the financial crimes and that type thing, or lesser sentence, whatever, it's going to be a much better existence for him than getting convicted on these kind of charges, right? So it's like, well, let's go ahead and admit to this. This is the lesser of two evils, right? And so admitting to this right here, and when I say admit to this, I mean this meaning the lies in this current case, the financial crimes, all this kind of stuff, like better to be convicted of those. So let's continue watching.
Alec, why did you lie to Agent Owen, Agent Croft, and Deputy Rutland about the last time you saw Maggie and Paul?
As my addiction evolved over time, I would get in these situations or circumstances where I would get paranoid thinking. It could be anything that triggered it. It might be a look somebody gave me. It might be a reaction somebody had to something I did. It might be a policeman following me in a car. That night, June 7th, after finding Mags and Paul,
Okay. Several things to talk about in this. First of all, let's talk about, the first thing we're going with is paranoia. I lied because of paranoia. Now, here's my thing. First of all, if I was running around chewing damn oxys like they were Pez, I'd probably be a little bit paranoid too, even if I just passed a cop, in the grocery store, pushing a grocery cart, right? This would make me nervous. So I'll give him that, okay? If I had ripped off half the town, including my family and law firm and all this stuff, I'd be nervous too. This is a man looking over his back at all times. 100% will give him that before we even let him get into the particulars of it. Why did you lie? I was paranoid. Okay, got it. Good. Now let's talk about other things. The lip grooming, the gum grooming, whatever this thing is he's doing. First of all, part of me wonders, I'm like, is it a damn phantom pill? Right? It's mine. He still thinks how it's like if you can have a phantom limb or something like that. If he has still I thought I was chewing on a peel, but it's not. It's just my tongue. You know what I'm saying? But also obviously he's probably nervous. When I get nervous like that, my gums will go dry and I do that. But this is where I'm like, somebody please give him some water, and later you will see a tissue. Now, the big thing here is we are first introduced in this testimony, in his time on the stand, to Paw. Y'all. Okay, first of all, if you don't follow me on my podcast channel over there, I'll stream this and we'll watch it together live and stuff. Links are down below, so watch it. Yo, when I tell you we almost started a drinking game over there doing this, it was just like, oh my God, this man says Paw one more time. We're all going to die, right? Now, he will claim that this is a nickname for Paul. However, I'm sure it was, right? I mean, I'm not trying to deny that, but he will ham this up, and we'll actually look at some clips of this here in a minute. But just note for now that, this is the first time we hear it. And Mags, it's like he wants to bring you into his little circle. Come on in, we're gonna, let's talk about Mags, let's talk about Papa, let's talk about Buzz, let's talk about Roo. I mean, all these little names, right? Trying to personalize, find a connection. And as a matter of fact, let's just take a few moments to get y'all there to understand the insane amount of times we heard the name Papa.
Most of all, I'm sorry to Mags and Paw.
Who's Paw?
That's Paul, my son Paw. My son Paul murdered.
And your name for him was Paw.
Yeah, we called him Paw.
Okay, go ahead.
Work. I learned from Paw that, but Mags called him Paw. Bus called him Paw. You could not be around Paw. You could not be around him and not have a good time.
Okay, so we get it. His nickname was Paw, and we are going to use it constantly on the stand. That's a whole other subject. Also, we are very briefly going to touch on this because y'all, literally, I didn't know what to do about this while watching this. Alec also used the technique of what I call, we are going to openly cry, and not blow our nose for theatrical effect. Let's just take a quick look at this to sum up what was on the stand for hours.
Ever.
Did
oh my gosh, the way he sat there with this snot thing hanging from his nose, I was like, that's not normal. And that's what I'm talking about. A normal person, and he'll pull napkins out from his thing and be like a little gerbil cleaning itself in the water, and a little bird feeder or watering bath or something, but that's what I'm talking about. It's like there's all these theatrics up there that are going on in this nature, and so it just gave me the heebie-jeebies. I don't like that. I've learned that I have this phobia, this weird thing, I don't know what you call it, where hearing that noise of people blowing their nose or wiping their nose and then rubbing it all over their face, or letting big things of stuff hang from their nose, it gets to me. Okay, but enough about that. Let's get back to, that whole thing. Why did he lie? What was going on? We left off at he was paranoid. Let's see what he has to say.
Don't talk to anybody without Danny with you. all my partners were just repeatedly telling me that. I had a deputy sheriff taking gunshot tests from my hands. I'm sitting in a police car with David Owen asking me about my relationship with my wife and my son. And all those things coupled together after finding them, coupled with my distrust for SLED, caused me to have paranoid thoughts. Normally, when these paranoid thoughts would hit me, I could take a deep breath real quick and just think about it, reason my way through it, and just get past it really quickly. On June the 7th, I wasn't thinking clearly. I don't think I was capable of reason. And I lied about being down there.
Okay, so he expands on this a little bit and goes into it. Now remember, his defense is questioning him, and so they're going to only press so far, but we will see when the prosecutor gets up there, which that's going to be a different video. We're just focusing on this one for this one, but he'll go a little bit more hardcore. And so, I will give him this. He's an attorney. He obviously would know you shouldn't be talking to people, whatever. However, this is a little bit of a different situation. Allegedly, you have just stumbled upon your wife and son in a horrifying manner. One would think your last concern in the heat of the moment would be, let me protect myself. But, who's to say? I don't know how I would react myself in that situation. So there's that. But I do feel like this is a blow to credibility. But I also feel like a lot of what's going on here is, trying to diminish his credibility, which clearly the man, he doesn't have much credibility at all. He's ripped all these people off. He has openly admitted to numerous lies on the stand. So, that's already shot, right? And so again, but he goes with the thing at the end, and I lied. And he gives this whole, this is why I did it, and I want to tell my story now and come clean. But for him, it's very difficult to decide at what point is coming clean. What version of the truth is the truth with him?
Alex, tell the jury what happened on the evening of June 7th. Starting when you met with Paul.
The $1 million question. So let's listen to a few highlights of what he is claiming took place. And again, while talking to his being questioned, I should say, by his defense attorney.
So, and what did you do when you got to the house?
I saw Mags, talked to Mags, and I took a shower.
Okay, now remember, there's key points through the evening that everyone has questions about. And one thing that he does on the stand, especially while he's up there with the defense, his own team, is addressing all of these. And a lot of it feels like what he's done is gone back over the testimony, gone back over these are the facts that have been presented. Let me now rearrange some of my story to fit that narrative. So for example, at first we were going with, I wasn't down at the kennels, I wasn't down at the kennels, I wasn't down at the kennels, and now there's proof of it. So, well, now you know what? I was at the kennels.
After you took a shower, what did you change into?
I changed into the clothes that you've seen in this trial, shorts and the shirt.
Okay, so takes a shower. This explains the shower, because remember, it's well, he changed clothes at some point, and he did this because when the cops came, he was in this, but it wasn't bloody, so he must have done the deed, then gone back to the house and showered and done, changing these clothes. Well, here, no, I did this beforehand, and this is how it went down, and I went ahead and changed into these clothes. So again, he's dotting his I's and crossing his T's and painting his little narrative.
And did you stay in the house?
Yes.
For how long?
Not long. I laid back on the couch, put my feet up, and like many times when Maggie asked me to do something that I didn't want to do or didn't start out doing, I changed my mind and decided I'm going to ride up there.
Now, he'll go on about this, basically saying, I didn't want to go up there, I didn't want to work, I didn't want to do this, I didn't want to sweat, whole 9 yards. And, this whole thing of like, oh, I sat down and, did all that and then changed my mind to go up there. Now, one thing that I keep going back to with what he is saying is the fact that, from what we've heard from like her sister and whatnot, he was the one trying to get her to the property to go visit the parents and whatnot. So this is like more of like a unique situation, right? So just keep that in mind as we watch the other clips.
And I did.
And how did you get to the kennels?
I went on a golf cart.
Was the golf cart at the house, the main house?
Yeah. It was.
And there you go. So much speculation and, how did he get there? How did this happen? How did that happen? He is admitting to a golf cart. Now, if you watched the defense when they had their paid for expert up there, with the gun trajectory and all that type of stuff, and he basically was like, it was these little short guys that did it, so then it's like, well, wait a minute, okay, he has the golf cart, maybe this could account and again, there's many different avenues you could go down with this, right? If you think that he did it, maybe he was shooting from the golf cart. If you think that someone else did it, he could have brought the weapons from the house and had someone else met them up, picked them up in the woods. They came, did the shooting, whatever. But then it's like, well, why would he use his own weapons to facilitate a crime? I mean, who knows, right? But regardless, okay, we have him going up there on the golf cart. Now, this will become even more cumbersome. And I would also want to wonder if he's saying the golf cart because of the timing. Because one thing that Alex seems to be good at, and when I say good at, meaning he's good at going back and trying to create his own timeline, because he knows, remember, he's an attorney, so he knows like, oh wait, they can use this, they can use that, they can use this, but he seems to have holes in that. It's almost like he's very smart about it to a certain degree, and then he gets up to this line, and I don't know if that's the pills talking or what, and then it's like, well, what were you thinking here? And so the golf cart could answer a lot of questions of, well, how did you get from here to here so quickly on the golf cart? It wasn't showing his, the OnStar and all that kind of stuff.
Well, before we do that, we've seen the dog kennel video with Cash and Mr. Davis, and we slowed it down for him. Did you see the water hose in that video on the ground? Do you remember seeing that?
Yes, I do.
Was the water hose out?
Obviously, in the video, but I don't specifically remember that, but I can look in that video and see it.
Right.
But that's not something that I noticed.
Okay, so in this, the water hose, remember this is a huge thing about the cleanup and the water and the hose and all this type of stuff. And again, he's taking ownership of this. And notice how sometimes he'll say things like this where he's like, well, I only know this because I saw it in the video, but I don't remember. And so like, there's certain things, and whether that's true or not, right? I mean, we don't know. But again, it only will benefit him to be murky about some things and to be transparent and be like, you know what, the only way I know this is because I saw it in the video, but I don't remember, but I mean, obviously it was, so, it is what it is. But also, if you remember, we heard in that video with Cash and Paul and Maggie and him, you hear the water hose going, right? So the natural assumption is, the water hose is going, so that's going. So he's alleging they started doing this, and then he comes up on the golf cart. Well, we know that that's there and going, at least what sounds like it, right? I mean, at the end of the day, nobody was there, right? And that part is not on video, so there's that at least. And
what did you do after you got the chicken out of Bubba's mouth?
I got out of there. I left. I went back to the house.
Okay, so the chicken. Oh, Lord, the chicken. We will hear so much about the chicken. And so we're just putting this up here. I found this part interesting because he says, I got out of there. He's very big on not wanting to have been down there for multiple reasons. And I think that he has a lot of Freudian slips that come out. in his testimony, especially with the state. But I thought this was interesting. He said, I got out of there. You know, and again, that might just be how he talks. He might be like, they were getting ready to work. I got out of there. I mean, it could go both ways, right?
How long did it take to get the chicken out of Bubba's mouth?
It didn't take long. Number one, Bubba's coming back there to show me, hey, I caught this chicken. Took the chicken out and put it on, I believe, the portable dog kennel.
And then left.
And then I left.
Then leave, okay. And did you go back to the house?
I went straight back.
Okay, again, more about the chicken. You know, he put it up here. I went straight back to the house. And so that's where, because remember, the way the timing allegedly of all this would be, that it's like, how did you not hear the gunfire that would have been erupting, I mean, almost simultaneously, if not moments later? You know, so there's this very small window of time here that it's like, you know, and again, for us to find out, wait a minute, he was there at the kennels, and then him to take ownership and come up and be like, yes, I was at the kennels, okay, you know, you got me, here's why I was there. But then it's like, well, wait, we now have to talk about this whole new timeline, right? Because, I mean, before we're just left to our imagination of, well, wait a minute, this puts him there like moments before this takes place. And not only that, there's the whole thing of, if the whole reasoning for Maggie would be there was to go with you to your parents, and that didn't happen, and before it was like, oh, I didn't go down there, I couldn't get a hold of them, so I went to head off to my parents, it makes it even more so, why didn't she go with you? Something just doesn't feel right.
So you went back to the house, you laid down on the couch, and then what happened next?
I'm not positive I dozed off for a minute or didn't doze off for a minute, but I got up off of the couch, and I made up my mind I was going to visit my mom.
So this is just more of that, where he goes back, he sits in the sofa, he dozes off for a moment. Now we'll find out, and when he talks to the prosecutor, again, different video, that this was literally, he might have sat on the sofa for just a few minutes, and then he was getting up and he left. And again, that's where the whole thing of, well, why didn't Maggie go with you? Like, you literally just left there, you went in, you immediately sat down, dozed off, like instantaneously, got up, and then went to your parents' house. You know, while allegedly this huge shootout was going on, right? And so this is where things just, it's weird. But now here's my thing also, when you start getting down to the timeline that the state presents also is a little bit off as well. No one's timeline has sold me 100% on really anything. Now, one last thing I want to touch on for this video is when he's talking about the whole scenario that went down with Cousin Eddie and the roadside incident. So let's watch a few clips from that.
And who was this? Who did you ask to do this?
Eddie Smith.
And did he in fact shoot you?
He did.
Now again, this is the whole, you know, pre-plotted fake, you know, I'm going to unalive myself, but I don't want to do it, so I'm going to have Cousin Eddie do it. I meet up with him, and it takes him like less than 30 minutes to say, okay, sure. So many questions about this, but again, so he's up here talking freely about this.
I changed my plans.
And what was the change in plans?
Not to get pills from him anymore, and instead, I asked him to shoot me.
Did you ask him to shoot you as a sympathy ploy, or did you want
As a sympathy ploy?
Yes, sir. Why did you ask him to shoot you? What was the end goal that you wanted to accomplish?
I meant for him to shoot me so I'd be gone.
Okay. Now, questions that I have are, first of all, why would he so willingly want to get rid of his cash cow, right? Just as a friend, right? You know, it's a good old family friend, you know, kind of his Cousin Eddie. Why would he want to get rid of this dude who's allegedly bringing $50,000, $60,000 a week? I mean, this is insane, right? Why would you do that? Why would you risk your own life, spending it for the rest of your life in jail over that and not really gain anything from it? It doesn't make sense. And so for Alex to be like, well, I decided I didn't want pills no more, so I was going to have him do this. I mean, there's way more to the story. And that's the whole thing, that for Alex, like whether it's this or whether it's the Maggie story, whether it's ripping people off, this is what I mean, where you don't know what the truth is with him. And I would almost argue that there often never is. It's just what he needs it for it to be in that moment.
I mean, I knew all this was coming to a head, I knew how humiliating it was going to be for my son.
Now, here's the thing as well, and when you get into these whole things of family annihilators and whatnot, and you look at these different cases of this, and this is one thing that's come up, and I've questioned, and I think even the prosecutor was like asking him towards the end, like, are you a family annihilator? Because you have to wonder, like, well, here you go, right? You know, all this is going to be exposed. The difference that I think I see here, and again, this is just my opinion. You know, I ain't a doctor, lawyer, none of that fancy stuff, okay? So what I mean by that is I ain't professionally qualified. These are just opinions. But I think with this dude, with Alec, it's almost like, okay, well, wait a second. I'm going to try and do this one last ditch effort, whether he was personally involved, pull the trigger, whatever, right? To benefit somehow. And almost like where Buster was going to be you're going to carry it on. You know, this is going to be a failure, but I'm going to try and set up so that you're going to carry the family name on. And I do think there's some kind of like psychological thing because Buster looks so much like Alex. So I think that there's something to be said for that.
Oh yeah, I had a lot of life insurance.
And who was the beneficiary?
Maggie was the beneficiary.
How much life insurance did you have?
I had $12 million. I had a $4 million policy and an $8 million policy, a total of 12.
That's a lot of life insurance. Now, one thing that I would think is that he would have had to have told, and this is just my opinion, like with Cousin Eddie, almost like, look, you're going to get this if you do this, right? Like, why? Again, I don't understand the motivation for that. And that's what a lot of this case lacks for me is like true motivation, and not maybe not in the way that I haven't come up with my own motivating reasons, but like a true definitive, like, okay, bam, here's what we're going with and here's what it is. Even in that, where I'm just like, okay, well, I really would need to hear from Cousin Eddie about this, right? Because again, just like with the other stuff, something doesn't add up, something doesn't feel right.
Did you ever have any life insurance on Maggie?
No, never.
Did you ever have any life insurance on Paul?
No.
And again, very interesting that he says, nope, nothing on Maggie, nope, nothing on Paul. So there you go. Now, like I said, for this, we were just mostly watching some clips, some highlights that I wanted to talk about and comment on from the defense. Now, once the prosecution gets a hold of this, it's a whole other ballgame, right? Now, I do think Alec handles himself, but there's some definite, like, whoa. And I think that the prosecution, I mean, he gets heated, right? So we'll talk about that in another video. Now, obviously, all around, I'm going to be honest, I go back and forth with this case on a daily basis. You know, some days I'm like, up, Alec, you know, he pulled the trigger, he did this. The next day I'm like, I think he knows what happened, but I don't think he pulled the trigger. I think he was there. I think someone helped him, but then I can explain my way out of that. I go back and forth, and all around, I think as far as the way the case has been handled, I feel like it's been messy on many levels, right? Now, obviously, we have seen this proven, and we're going to see more of this come down the pipeline. Alec is a dishonest man. This man has stolen from vulnerable people that trusted him. I mean, this is not up for debate, right? You know, but there's other things that are still kind of a little bit murky for me and whatnot. So I'm very curious to see where the cookie crumbles with this. Now, I'm recording this on Saturday. Tomorrow is obviously Sunday. And then Monday, I'm curious to see if the defense is going to call more people on there. And by Monday, I mean the 27th. We're almost at the end of February. So let me know what you think down in the comment section, your thoughts on this, if you watched it, or if you watched it with me on the other channel, you know, what your opinions, what your thoughts are. Where do you think he stands right now? Do you think it will be a hung jury, a not guilty jury, or a guilty jury? Again, drop hearts for all of the victims in this case, whether they lost their lives or whether their, you know, livelihoods and money were stolen by this man. And that's it. Thank you for hanging out with us on the sofa, Mr. Roscoe, and until next time, we'll see you then.